All right, so I wanted to just kick things off with a very brief summary of where we've come, what we've achieved thus far, what the year has laid on our laps. And then Albert will start kicking us off into the discussion of what's been happening very recently, what's been concerning us, what's been really worrying us with regards to the road ahead, and what we want to address and how we want to implement these changes that we want to put in place. So looking forward to your guys' input at the end of the discussion with regards to that. But as a brief summary, this is now year 3. Am I right? Jeez, we're actually year 3. So yeah, this November will mark year 3 for the Wildstorm Studios Discord community itself. For myself as Wildstorm Studios commission painter, I've lost count. So yeah, I can't say. But when we first started, one of the things that Albert and I were very committed to was being able to provide a community, a central location where everyone who is like-minded and passionate about the hobby, about miniature painting, about just anything geek related, just about, could find a safe haven and a place where they could then share their hobby and share that passion with like-minded individuals. And at the same time, to be able to then connect and network and meet all these little silo groups of people who are painting and doing hobbying all across the country. So that was the whole purpose of what we wanted to do. And yeah, over the last 2.5 years, we can very proudly say we tried everything. We've thrown a lot of things at the wall to see what sticks, and some of the stuff stuck, some of the stuff didn't stick, and hence why we find it important for us to do this particular review every year around this time, where we just look into what's been working, what's not working, what needs to be changed, and how we can keep always improving things for you guys as our community. So with that being said, I'm going to lead straight into Albert here with regards to where we've come from over the last few months and some of the challenges that we've experienced.
Yeah, so I think there's almost two stages so far in this Discord's life. Pre-pandemic or in during pandemic and then post-pandemic.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
what we've realized is just the freedoms we had during the pandemic is no longer with us. Just constantly at home painting, a lot more free time, I want to say, was one of our benefits we had. But yeah, as life went back to normal, that kind of went away.
yeah.
Fortunately, because everything is a lot better now than being stuck at home and not seeing family and all of that.
I'm
Um,
sure there's a couple of people who would argue with you on that
yeah,
one.
yeah. So it's just that what then we realized is, see, it's like the getting down to all of the things we had in mind and carried over from previous years, like the painted miniature giveaway. That was a lot more easier to do when
Mhm,
a lot of people's lives was a lot more stable in the hobby and but not as stable in life. And as those two things switched over, that kind of reversed where the hobby had to take a little bit of a time cut, and then obviously life has to pick or get going again, I want to say, if that makes sense. So yeah, and then obviously kicking up everything into fifth and sixth gear this year with Thunderbrush and Comic Con organizing, and then straight after that, trying to get everything organized for the charity event, and always having the feeling of now we've got more than enough time, but now we're we're almost approaching, well, we're already past the halfway point of this year, so trying to get all of those things locked in and organizing workshops and so yeah, unfortunately, um, only the fault of our own, I want to say, expectations, and try for not overpromise, but try to spread ourselves as thin as we could. Unfortunately, streams and other things we will touch on as we go on with this discussion had to. Unfortunately, it took a bit of a toll, and there was a lot of there was a lot of things that's not entirely in our control with um, putting in our part of the promise
Mm.
with the Discord
Well,
tiers and stuff. So
Albert, if you remember at the beginning of the year, I said this was going to be the biggest year for Wildstorm Studios as a whole.
yeah,
We were facing Thunderbrush with Roman coming down. We had an invitation for Comic Con,
yeah,
so we were like, yeah, no, this is going to be the biggest year for Wildstorm.
mm,
6 months later, and we're going, yeah, it's been the biggest year for Wildstorm, but it's also been one of the toughest 6 months
yeah,
for
no,
Wildstorm Studios. Not necessarily the Discord, but for myself and Wildstorm at large. It's been a challenge of note, and it's weird to say that because it has also been one of the biggest years
yeah.
for us so far.
I would say it's one of those catch-22s. It's been the biggest and best year, but also unfortunately getting very sprint. Not that we're getting sprint thin in all
Mm,
aspects, but yeah, as soon as you start dealing with more things, obviously your time gets very spread thinly. So, and
for
then
sure.
compound not getting a racing chance with load shedding and so,
Yeah,
yeah,
so I think that that's what you're referring to is the fact that it hasn't just been one challenge, like for example, just load shedding.
yeah,
It's been load shedding. It's been tackling Comic Con and getting ready for that. And Comic Con, just to give the guys a bit of an info, was vastly different from the Thunderbrush experience because with Thunderbrush, I was the guy in charge. So all the answers, all the questions, everything came through me, from me, and I ran everything, and I was in charge of everything, and it was cool. I felt more in control of Thunderbrush than I did of Comic Con because you're not the person in charge. You're dealing with third parties and other individuals who've been placed in charge with certain aspects, and you're getting mixed information, and it gets crazy. And then you put your camp on the day, and they've given you no power. So you know, it's that kind of stuff that we've had to deal with. And then, like you say, straight out from all of that, there's a lot of traction. There's a lot of interest, a lot of calls, a lot of interest with regards to doing workshops and doing other conventions and more painting competitions. But with that comes being, like you say, not spread thin, but a lot of balls in the air that you're having to do by yourself
yeah.
as Wildstorm Studios. So yeah, it has been uh, an experience of note.
Yeah, no, for sure. We can, as we'll start into digging into some of the things, more stuff would make sense, and hopefully the idea what we're trying to do with one of the things we want to just achieve is more transparency with what's going on. That it's not usually what's happened now the past few months, unfortunately, is what there's not enough time to put up a proper coherent message or
Mm,
video that everybody can
mm,
see at the same time,
yeah.
that everybody's
Well,
just on the
well,
same page.
but let's tackle that for the guys. So as we mentioned, we've had to struggle with power with load shedding. So we've always had to sort of review the load shedding schedule, and then all of a sudden on the day there's a change and we can't stream, and we have to then notify you guys. And it's frustrating because for us, we want to remain committed to what we promise. If we say we'd like to do 2 streams a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, we'd like to do that every Wednesday and a Friday. But then it gets difficult, and then load shedding gets in the way, and then we're having to try reschedule for a Thursday night. But then all of a sudden, I'm free on Thursday night, but Albert is not because he's load shedding, and it's frustrating as all hell. And that's just the first problem.
Hmm.
The second problem that Albert is alluding to is the one thing that he and I are very proud of is the fact that if we make commitments, and it's funny, this whole week has been discussions between he and I, and it's this constant thing going, we could do this, and then the other one going, but can we commit to it? Can we make sure we can do that every single month? So it's been a lot of frustration on our side because there are other parties involved, namely sponsors and other third parties who are out of our control and are going through struggles and difficulties of their own, which is not my place here to divulge that information. But it does make it difficult for us because we're the face of the Discord. So when we don't have giveaways and we don't have the month end stream like we normally have had, it makes it difficult because you guys, of course, understand that's coming from us. But what you may not realize is there's, of course, the other parties involved behind the scenes that are not quite also committing to their agreement. So it's been challenging, to say the least.
I would just like to add, the only solid thing that's been constant from day one is Van Sale, so I'll give him props for that. That man has not missed a beat.
Look, it's quite funny because you and I were having our discussion earlier today, busy locking in this discussion tonight. And in the middle of our call, Funzel's jumping in going, how's it? Listen, I just want to know what's going on with tonight. Do I need to be worried? And I'm like, No, dude, you don't need to be worried. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know already, Funzale is Madness 3D. And like Albert says, Madness 3D has been with us since the day we started the Discord. I think I met him like a month or two after we started the Discord,
Mm,
or before the Discord. And he's been supporting us since day one.
yeah.
And the same also said about Pandemonium. Ryan and Pandemonium Games have been massive supporters of Wildstorm to me personally and to the studio for years. I just think that over the last few months, there's been a bit of difficulty that on that side. And like I say, it's information that I can't divulge here publicly, but nothing for you guys to be concerned about. It just has made some of the logistics and some of the operational side of things tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Example giveaways, and
yeah.
it looks
So
bad on us.
that's what we're trying to allude to. Is we're
Yeah.
saying, sorry guys, we look like idiots and we look like doers because we make promises and we want to do all this stuff, and then we don't have this stuff, and then we look like the idiots
Mm,
making these empty promises. So be rest assured, any decisions we make moving forward, and those are some of the decisions that we are going to share with you guys tonight, is all in the mindset of making sure that we can stick to these promises, that we can
mm,
commit and make sure that we can, fulfill those promises every single month without falter, so that we build an integrity of a community that stands by its word and delivers on its promise. And I think that's always very important, especially for us as a small, budding little community, that we become famous for sticking to our word and delivering on what
mm,
we've promised to deliver.
yeah.
So that's been some of the driving factors of our decisions. And I'm sure you guys can already see that, Albert and I haven't taken this lightly. We've really had a couple of discussions. In fact, I think we started the discussion like a good month and a half ago. If I
Yeah.
recall, there was a Saturday afternoon here in the studio where we spent a couple of hours chatting about it.
Mm,
So we haven't taken this lightly. It's not a case of us just thumb sucking how to take the next steps forward. We are very, very committed to making sure we give you guys what we feel is the best way forward for this community.
yeah, to
But
just
yeah.
give people also an idea, I think, well, from that discussion we had a few months ago, just brainstorming and letting us brew with the ideas and stuff. I think from that, it was probably like a month and a good month and a half or 2 months ago almost, till
Mhm.
now, this week. In this week, I think it was probably the first time we spoke like constantly, almost every day, just touching
Yeah,
base.
yeah.
What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Because obviously you had the Eldar that had to get out of the door on the plane to Germany. So
Yeah, yeah. Don't talk about the race night. He was my friend until 4 o'clock this morning.
yeah,
So yeah. But
so
yeah.
yeah, we've instead of trying to I want to say come up with quick solutions, we kind of took a step back, spoke both of our sides in equal, I want to say, volume, pitch each other the
Mhm.
ideas, and it's not so much that it's trying to save the Discord from falling apart or any of that, where
Mm.
it is
Yeah, yeah.
older and everything. So anybody who's been in the hobby long enough, we all know how the hobby seasons go, if we can say like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
When
Yeah,
it gets
yeah, I
cold,
think
nobody wants to paint until it's
well,
a bit
I don't
better.
have, I don't have a choice. My studio is like an Arctic
Yeah,
temperature on a regular basis. But yeah, just to further iterate what you just said, the Discord is not in trouble.
yeah, no.
Wildstorm Studios is not in trouble. We are not panicking. We are not doing a knee-jerk reaction. Uh, we have gone through a few struggles over the last few weeks, and like we've said, it's been load shedding. It's been difficulties with our sponsor, but added on top of that, I had no fiber running to my studio for what, 3 weeks,
Mm,
4 weeks,
4 weeks, I think.
and that is pardon my French, and it's one of the few times I will swear tonight, but it's been fucking frustrating for me to not be able to just talk to you guys,
Mm,
stream, have my regular weekly pattern. It's been annoying. It's been frustrating. So some of the response of what we're doing tonight is triggered from that. But like I said, like Albert was saying, we are not in trouble. The
mm,
Discord isn't. We're not sort of trying to find solutions because we think we're spiraling. But we do feel that we ourselves as Wildstorm and the Discord uh, don't want to use the term we dropped the ball a little bit, but we do feel we haven't really committed to the way we would like to, and that's what this is about: is addressing that, putting a stop to it right here, and addressing it so we can move forward in the right direction.
mm.
So Let's clear that up.
Yeah,
Nobody panic. Nobody run for the hills.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you want to touch base on a few other things, but I think we've pretty much kind of explained some of the
Yeah, I
things
think
which is more important, and then are kind of rectifying things moving forward, how that new steps would kind of relieve us from other issues that kept on coming up in the past.
exactly, exactly. All right, but yeah, look, some of the things that we've struggled with, especially in the last 6 months for me, has been the painted miniature giveaway. Having to juggle Thunderbrush and the build up and the work towards Thunderbrush, being a one man operation, putting on Thunderbrush and hosting Thunderbrush. Something I'm very, very proud we managed to achieve. And everyone I've spoken to has had nothing but praise about how they experienced Thunderbrush. And just to give you guys some info, there was word about Thunderbrush being apparently spread across the country. And I got wind of that, some of that information in the last week. So it's been really, really cool to have achieved Thunderbrush as well as I'd hoped and I'd dreamed of. But there is the whole stress of carrying all that pressure, carrying all that workload, and then still having to maintain a household and maintain the Discord and maintain my commission schedule. And I think that's where it all started. I was absolutely drained from that. And literally a month later, we were doing Comic Con. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm without a fiber line. And to top it all off as well, my top client had a change of commission schedule. And all of a sudden, I was left with a 6 week deadline for a whole bunch of work that we had planned for 6 months.
Hmm.
So it's been tricky. So with that, with the fact that I haven't been able to do the painted miniature giveaway, with the fact that we've had struggles with pandemonium of recent, we wanted to make sure that we don't just ignore these things and we just let them, continue to roll over, especially if we're not communicating with you guys. So that was the important thing, was to try and get myself back online in time for tonight so we can make this public and we can make it clear. Wildstorm's going nowhere, but forward. And that's the plan. Okay. So Albert's going to lead us into the first of the big decisions we've taken, and to sort of clarify why we're taking those decisions. And then, of course, I'll take over and move on with more information. But yeah, Albert.
All right, so yeah, good news for a lot of people. So how our tier structure is currently based is, I want to say, not optimum for, I want to say, almost a continued supporting structure. Now, a continued supporting structure, I don't mean being on Patreon. It's more a case of being a part of the community. I think it's much more clear that the community aspect and the Patreon aspect is one thing under the Wildstorm, I want to say Discord, but it shouldn't be one thing that's can't be broken. So for anybody that's been a part of the trial membership, I think you've got a pretty good idea how that works. But the unfortunately thing or reality of it was that after 30 days, but usually I let it drag a little bit longer, was then unfortunately, our original agreement was, well, okay, hope you like it, hope you sign on. If not, I want to say maybe later, but here's the door for now. So that's going away. So I want to say that tier one is not going to be a paid option or anything. It's basically the community is going open in a sense that there is going to be a free, no trial, no anything time limit connected to it. The only limitations obviously attached to that is that you can't partake in the streams, no giveaways, feedback to a certain extent, but the rest is pretty much open. So that's the one great thing, that at least in that sense that yes, everybody's year is not the same. Their life does happen, and you still want to be able to be a part of a community. And the last thing that myself or Richard wants to happen is that, well, okay, if money gets tight, the last thing we don't want anybody having to get booted off for those reasons. We still want to at least hear from you if you get that random one night of painting in. We want to see your work. At least it gives you something some positive
Mm.
vibes for that
Yeah,
day.
yeah. And this is born from also wanting to reach a wider audience. We do realize that, of course, by having a paywall and a subscription based platform, that it's only our subscribers who are getting our stuff. And then what's worse is that we're realizing that as we engage with the rest of the local community, and as we see what guys are doing overseas, we realize, hold on, we are very active. We are providing a lot of content. We are doing a lot of streaming, and we are creating this wonderful, awesome community, but a lot of people aren't being made aware of it. Plus, it was also stemmed from something that Albert picked up, which is before we started the Discord, I had started a WhatsApp group. And what was crazy about it is I started one up for the stores for each of the stores that I was doing workshops and classes at, where we were trying to build community. So I had a WhatsApp group for Durbanville Games. I had a WhatsApp group for the Warren and Somerset West and Pandemonium and Sword and Board, and all these little groups. So my phone was buzzing a little too incessantly. So we then merged that into one group. And at one stage, we were sitting on, I'm sure we hit close on 200
120.
or
No, I think it was
120, sorry.
120, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had 120 people on this WhatsApp group. And it was from that large amount of people, the engagement, the activity, that's what triggered the seed in Albert's mind, bear fruit and, form this Discord. What we did notice was that a large portion of those people reached out to me and said, look, we'd love to stick around because we love just seeing the cool painted miniatures, but we're not hobbyists per se, so we're not going to come over to the Discord. So we lost a good portion of people from that. And then over the last 2-3 years, it's been an up and down fight of trying to provide a platform that you guys enjoy and to make sure that we're providing our commitments and making it a worthy community to be a part of. And we've had some great wins and we've had some losses and we've had people come and go and so on and so forth. But for us, what we do realize is that if we're going to reach a wider audience, more people need to be aware of what we're doing, what people are painting, and what we're doing in this Discord. So that's where this idea that Albert is actually the godfather of this particular idea, which is to take Tier 1 and make it a public platform. So we no longer, and this is one of the things that Albert and I will allude to, we're also trying to find ways to make things a bit more streamlined, a bit easier for us to manage, and that we don't have to rely with third parties with regards to communicating any changes and updates. That will make more sense in a second. So in regards to this is also triggered from the trial platform. We no longer have to offer a trial. We no longer have to say to people, come and check it out for 30 days. We can just go, no, join the Discord. Come in and see what we're doing. Come and see what people are painting. Come and be part of that community. And then if you want to support us further, and if you want to take part in more of the stuff that we're doing, there's going to be Tier 2 and Tier 3, which we will divulge in a second. But that is what Tier 1 is about. It's about us getting to a wider audience, to get in touch with more people who may not necessarily be painters, who are more so gamers, but they love seeing painted miniatures. And we're hoping that those people will then be able to partake and be part of what we're doing. So Tier 1 is changing to a public access tier level for everyone involved. And like Albert says, there is going to be a few limitations. You're getting a good chunk of what's happening, but not all the good stuff.
Yeah,
Which we'll
for
divulge in the next.
reasons I'm gonna say now. All right, so
Okay, so
hopefully
that's
that's
Tier
all
1.
clear. Obviously, remember there's gonna be a Q&A afterwards, so make mental notes. So
Yeah.
Tier 2 is basically for the most part gonna stay as is. The only difference is here comes our new take on what we want to do with the platform or for the Patreon funds. So currently, as it stands now, most of the money, all of the money goes to Richard to support him and everything, and keep the Discord running with fiber and the Discord Nitro and all of the extra things that goes with that. That stuff doesn't just fall out of the air, unfortunately. So there is money going into, I want to say, the upkeep of the Discord. But now we want to extend that to having a certain percentage. I know Richard told me, depending on how things go, there's going to be a 20 to 25%. Is that correct to say? You can say no.
That's the number that we've answered.
Yeah.
Guys, by the way, before we go any further, just to let everyone know, all of this is not absolutely locked in stone. We are still
Mm,
finalizing things, and we are still negotiating with our sponsors to make sure that they're in agreement with whatever we're doing,
mm,
because some of these changes impact them as well. So anything we're saying tonight, it's all in the air still. We that's why Albert also said, make notes for the Q&A. We want you to throw in your questions. We want you to make in a suggestion, because this is the opportunity to do so. Because over the next few days, we want to lock it in, tighten up the numbers, and make that announcement and get everyone moving in the right
mhm.
direction. So, sorry, Albert, go for
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So to make that percentage a little bit more clear is we want to take money from the Patreon and split it up into two piles. The money that goes for the upkeep and supporting Richard, and then the separate part is for community fund. Now, what the community fund is going to be is our own funds that we can use, not for me or Richard, that is
Mm-hmm.
for the community stuff. So, for instance, like what we're going to run into very soon is buying stuff that we can't get from sponsors for the community project for a charity event. So,
Mm-hmm.
large amounts of spray paint, I don't know what else, glue, wood glue, all of the stuff we're
Would
gonna
look,
gonna need for
yeah,
that,
yeah,
so that we have funds to take from that. And for instance, luckily, one of the members found us a Terranet Big Boss model. But if, for
yeah.
instance, if we couldn't find something, we had to, I want to say, pick into our own pockets, that it's not an issue, that at least we have the fund as a last resort, or even if it's at a point as a first resort, if everything goes
Mm-hmm.
great. That would be the
Mm-hmm.
ideal thing we're aiming for. But
Yeah.
now here
No,
comes,
and
sorry,
but
go
that's
for it.
just and that's just an example of one of the
Yes.
things that we're looking into. But just to sort of reiterate before you get into the details, for me, it's always been community first. Since day one, since before the Discord even started, it's why I wanted to go out and teach people and meet more people, and that's why, the strength of this Discord is majority Western Cape, because of, us going out there and physically seeing people. So it's always been about community, contrary to what some people may say, and some people may think that this is a branding exercise for Richard. It's never been so since day one. It's always been about community. So it was with these frustrations and discussions about how do we move forward and how we make this more appealing to our local audience, about the fact that this is not about me and it's not about the one man show. It's about community. It's about getting more people painting, getting more people connected, and finding a safe haven where we can all share what it is that we love doing. So that was the seed, is how do I make this something that people feel that they're not just supporting me, and I'm sorry, this is going to be the new slogan moving forward, but you're not just supporting me, you're supporting yourselves. And that's what we want to try and do, is with this 25%, like I say, it's currently still in the air, we're still locking that number down, but with that portion of funds, we want to be able to place it in a kitty, and those funds makes Wildstorm as a community self-reliant. If we want to, take funds from that to buy vouchers and giveaways, if we want to host workshops, if we want to do a lot of this stuff that Albert's going to describe now, we want to access funds that are raised by you. So it's not just us incurring these expenses, but at the same time, you're not just supporting us, you're supporting yourselves in turn. Sorry, Albert, go for
Yeah,
it.
all good. So yeah, like Richard said, we touched on vouchers. So I.e. for example, because
Mhm.
Richard keeps on saying that the numbers are still in the air. So obviously, if everything hopefully grows a little bit easier and people can see the benefits, it's not, I want to say, this month I'm paint. This is the kind of the problem we had with trying to figure everything out. Like, okay, maybe we try painting tutorials. Okay, let me paint something, or just do
Mhm.
a video stream or something. Now, my painting style is not the most exciting thing
Mhm,
to
mhm, mhm.
follow.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah,
there
yeah.
already a lot of people are not interested in.
Yeah, yeah. Look, if ever you guys want to know what it's like to be someone like Albert and myself, where we're trying to provide, we hate using the word content now, because we don't want to provide you guys with content per se.
Mhm.
There are so many YouTubers out there at the moment who are providing damn decent tutorials, damn decent content, that we would only be stupid to try and compete with that.
Yeah,
None of us are Monty Sansevino
no.
medalist winners. None of us are Adepticon, winners. None of us have got
Thunderbrush winners.
There's something always to, you see?
Yeah.
But uh, with that being said, that's why the two of us kept coming back to community.
Mm,
Community. How do we make this so that the community really sees a unique aspect? That we're not just trying to sell you guys a platform where we're going to try to do tutorials and compete with these guys, and we know we're just not going
mm,
to. Especially after I watched Eric Swinson yesterday, and I'm going, yeah, 4.5 hours to paint a bus that well
mm,
and keep people entertained ain't going to happen. So, this is why the community trigger. This is
mm,
why we said to ourselves, how do we look at this from a different perspective? And then we came back to the core value, which is community. So, how do we then say to ourselves, how can we say, rather than just with the mindset that you're supporting me and I need to commit to promises and giveaways and prizes to make it appealing, what we'd rather do is say, no, you're supporting me, but you're also supporting the community at large. That a portion of your funds every single month goes into this kitty that is then used for one single purpose. This is what Albert was alluding to in the beginning. That the decision of how we want to spend these funds will A, be transparent. We will actually, where possible, do a poll with the Discord and go, hey guys, we've decided we want to invest in A and we want to invest in B. Which one do you guys think we should invest in first? And actually make it a publicly community driven decision.
mm,
But we want to keep everything above board. We want to keep everything completely transparent. So, Albert, I had a funny, weird idea earlier about the month end stream. We'll now
mm.
change it to the monthly board meeting.
Board meeting. Yeah.
For about 5 minutes in that last month end stream, we will tell you guys, by the way, this is how much money has been raised. This is what's been saved into our community fund. And these are the things that we'd like to purchase and invest in.
Mm,
So that every single investment is triggered on the one principle: is this for our community? Yes or no? If it's a no, we don't spend the money. It's got to come out of our own pockets. But if it's a yes and it's going to benefit the community at large, then that's where we make that decision to make that investment and that purchase. And there's a lot of things that we want to sort of consider.
no, and
But first and foremost is providing things like Albert is saying,
no,
the
and
vouchers
just to
and giveaways. Yeah,
clarify, sorry, with the word investment into the community, it's not us investing in better equipment. Like I'm not gonna go buy 4,000 rand camera now from the investment from the community. The investment is
yeah,
solely for what
yeah,
for the community, buying
yeah,
vouchers, buying paint sets
yeah.
for
So
giveaways.
exactly that. Yeah. So exactly on that. To give you guys an example, we've already alluded to it. The fact that we sometimes are very reliant on our sponsors and very reliant on them sending us stuff. A, sending us stuff. B, sending it to us on time so that we
Mm,
can actually have it in front of us for our Discord, for our streams. And that's always been a challenge. And it's always been a fight to the point where I'm waiting a few hours for the delivery of the parcel when the stream is just a few hours away, and it's frustrating.
mm,
So this allows us a little bit of freedom in going, well, look, sponsors, send your giveaways, send your promotional stuff, but at the end of the month, we do a giveaway as Wildstorm Studios to our community. And that giveaway is in the form of a voucher that is funded by the community. And
mm,
if that's not enough, we get to then make that purchase for you for the voucher at your local store or a store that you want to make an order from. So it's no longer getting a box of starter paint sets when you've been painting for 10 years and you go, wow, I won a starter paint set from supporting Wildstorm Studios. We'd rather go, hey, congratulations, you just won $500. Where can we get you a voucher from? you know, and you
yeah,
tell us what's your local store. And that way, we not only supporting you with a voucher for your hobby investment, but we also supporting the local stores. And that is another trigger point is that this way, we're also not just reliant on the one sponsor. We'd like to be able to get more sponsors involved, more stores involved, so we can really grow this community at large.
mm,
So this investment arm, and I hate to use the word investment, but I think it's just a way to let everyone sort of understand what we're trying to do, allows us to then become more self-sufficient and self-reliant as a community offering a service to our community.
no, no, most definitely. I think, yeah, that's pretty much how you can explain that the best way is just to give the community the freedom for whatever they win, that they can go to Jigs or Supernova or Panda or Sword and
Yeah.
Board, and we've got people
Yeah.
all over the place. So it doesn't help if somebody doesn't like doing online orders, that at least they can maybe just have a voucher printed out and go to the local store and say, hey, you
Exactly.
know, you know, because shipping
Yeah.
ain't for free.
Yeah.
That 500
And
rand
so
voucher is gonna get done quick.
exactly, exactly. And look, that's the nice thing. I mean, you might even tell us, listen, guys, my family and I are going through a bit of a tough time. Do you mind if we rather just make that 500 rand cash? And we'll
Yeah.
go, by all means, you're the winner. It's your 500 bucks. And that for me is a real plus because we are all South Africans. We're all living in a very, very difficult and tough economy. So this is another thing that for me gets me excited is the opportunity where if we catch wind of someone in our Discord is really battling, really going through a tough time, and we've managed to save up some funds and we're getting the support of the community to do so, that we then reach out to that individual and go, listen, here's 500 bucks. Just our way of being able to say thanks for your support, but our way of supporting you back.
Hmm.
So that's what we're talking about is those kind of investments back into the community. Albert did allude to that we don't want to go and buy. Look, everybody knows Richard needs better lighting, but I'm not going to want to take that money from that kind of investment. That money is what I then earn as a commission artist and from the other support that I get from you guys. But one thing we would like to do is get to more workshops, get to more face to face events. And one of the things we always struggle with is when people phone us up and go, we want to do a workshop. And we go, great. Do you guys have lighting? No. Do you guys have paints? No. All right, so we'll ask people to bring paints, and then people have to bring lamps and wet pallets and shit like that. And we're going, wouldn't it be cool if Wildstorm Studios could actually buy 10 lamps at some stage and buy 10 wet pallets and buy 10 good quality paintbrushes and buy a handful of paints? And that becomes our roving workshop setup that we can then go, instead of sitting here waiting for people to phone us to set up workshops and classes and face-to-face events, we're going, no, we're phoning you because we've got the equipment. And guess what? That equipment was funded by our community. So that's where this whole taking a portion of that money, setting it aside, and actually using it as a way to benefit the community at large.
Hmm.
And that's, I think, where the real core
Yeah.
principle of what we're trying to do with this. So that's tier two.
Yeah. I think we've
Okay.
covered everything for tier two. I'll touch on some of the other
Mm-hmm.
things regarding the
Yeah.
community fund after the discussion of tier three.
Mm-hmm.
So tier three is basically everything as tier two. The only difference is my idea. I want to just do it personally because I kind of enjoy the process of it. You'd
Mm-hmm.
kind of learn a lot
It's,
out of it.
it's something I've picked up from you lately, and you've even mentioned it to me before that
Yeah,
you have really, really taken on a bit of a joy of teaching and giving people feedback and
yeah,
sharing what you've learned. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So tier three is a tricky one just because of the fact that it is basically the same as tier two, but we're naming it basically as tier one, which is the open platform one, is a Wildstorm community member. Tier two is a
Mm-hmm.
community supporter, i.e.,
Mm-hmm.
you funding things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then tier three is a super supporter, you giving more. But now this is just where, like we say, with the tier one and tier two is basically, I want to say, concrete at this point, up in the air
Mm-hmm.
before we start locking things in. We still have to have a discussion with a few people. But tier three is just if you have the financial, I want to say, not freedom, but the extra funds and you want to support more, this is where you have that platform to do because Richard does have some people in the tier threes that says like, okay, I'm not so interested in doing extra private classes at when we still did that or painted
Mm-hmm.
miniature giveaways. We just want to give more because we like what you are doing and we want to support
Mm-hmm.
that. And I would speak on Richard's behalf on this one. You can't be more grateful for that in that situation. So um, but regarding that, the only thing for now that I know we can absolutely commit to is a digital feedback section. So very similar to the normal feedback, but I want to have people be able to feel more, I want to say, free to post photos where it's in late stages, whips, or basically almost completed in saying, I've done all of this, something feels off, give me digital feedback. And that's where I grab something and I can actually feel that
Mm,
I
mm,
have the
mm,
incentive of having to spend more time to have that person have a digital rendered version or edit of that
mm,
photo.
mm, mm,
So it's just for the time being, that is one of the extra incentives
mm,
for that. But it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is more a case of if you have the financial funds or if you want to have digital
mm,
feedback, you know,
mm.
it's also a
Yeah,
case
yeah.
of, for argument's sake, if you don't really want the feedback, I would almost want to say the difference between me and you sitting down and me rather doing a digital feedback, just have a verbal feedback where I can look and point directly at things instead of me scribbling around and all of that stuff. It's the same amount of time investment. Just keep in mind that
Mhm.
it's not going to be, I post this now, I want now feedback. It's going to be, it will be
Yeah,
feedback
with
within
reason.
3 to 4 days within reason.
I think what essentially you're saying is that we want to be able to give you personalized actual feedback that we take a bit of time on. And like Albert is saying, he wants to be able to actually give you digital feedback. He wants to take your image and do a bit of, rendering on it and go here, maybe adjust this, maybe adjust that. And you actually get some real, honest, decent feedback, and just instead of just someone giving you a text reply or just simply saying something on the stream saying, no, you're doing it all wrong. Albert, the one thing that I've really prided on the fact, Albert, I haven't shared this with you, so I'm going to take the opportunity now here publicly. But it's been really cool for me to see the journey because we met when you attended one of my classes,
Yeah, just before
and the
COVID.
seed was born. That's right, and then the
Last
seed
time.
was born, and here you are,
Mm.
3 4 years later, and you're loving the fact that you are now discovering that you've passed the student phase, and now you've become the teacher phase.
No.
So
Still
it's
far away
really
from the
cool to
master.
and look, I'm not even at the master stage yet, and so I know that journey. But what I'm trying to really get at is it's been really cool to see that, and for me, it's more encouraging because now it's not just me going, I want to teach and I want to show more people how to paint.
Hmm.
There's a guy sitting on the screen right to my left, I think it is,
Yeah.
one of the
So,
two, who's now also teaching and also passionate and knows what the fuck he's talking about because he's been that immersed in in
doubtful.
the knowledge side of things.
Yeah.
So right now, that's where Albert is alluding to with regards to tier three. For me, I'm one of those people that I am very grateful for people's support. So, in one hand, where Albert is going, no, no, but there are people out there, Richard, who want to support you more than just what is required, and if they're able to and they're willing to, they want to be able to support you with a little bit more. My thing is that I can't just be accepting of that. It's not in my nature to just be accepting that. And we want to make sure that if you're giving us more support, we want to be able to in turn return the favor by giving you more support. So that's where we're just trying to iron out the finalities of tier three.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's becoming more simplified. Tier one, you're public, you're coming in, you get to be an audience member,
Hmm.
shall we say, where you get to see what people are painting, you get to, interact a little bit with folks. But tier two, that's where you believe the cause. You believe in what we're doing. You believe in community. You believe in supporting not just us, but yourself. And that's what, we're looking as the majority tier level that people will access. And then we're looking at tier three, where we're saying, whatever support that you'd like to be willing to provide more so would be greatly appreciated. And trust me when Albert says, you guys have no idea how grateful I am for those tier three members, especially for the fact that over the last 6 months, I have not committed to, the promise that I made for those tier threes. So I'm nothing but eternally grateful to the tier threes. So yeah, we are still locking on the tier three level. But at the end of the day, that's what it is you've got a Wildstorm community member at tier one. You've got a Wildstorm supporter member at tier two because you're supporting what it is that we're trying to do. And then we've got the super supporter, those who can and are willing to support us a little bit more further. And be rest assured that, in turn, we want to provide you with the best possible experience. And being tier three like Albert says. We'll go that extra mile and give you honest feedback, really get in touch with you, create personal relationships, and really take you on your journey. So yeah, that's the very summarized sort of breakdown of how we got to these positions, why we've made these decisions. And I wonder if anyone's noticing. We're not making promises like, no, we're going to give away this and we're going to do this and we're going to get more sponsors and we're going to make no empty promises. We're also streamlining things down a bit. So we're not doing all these server level activities and then we've got to communicate with Pandemonium on a monthly basis who's gone up and who's gone down, who needs now a 5% discount, who needs a 3% discount. And it's gotten a bit too much, not only for us, but for Pandemonium. So this way, we also want to go, well, this is where we just need to lock in the figures with our sponsors. But we want to say, if you're tier 2, you get this. And if you're tier 3, you get this. That's it. No,
Yeah,
getting all things mixed up and confused and lots of communications backwards and forwards. We want to make things a little bit more streamlined. So that's the changes in a nutshell. Very simplified. From the heart.
And I think one thing just what I want to add is moving forward with the community funded giveaway stuff is it's not going to be based off of who's online on the stream. We're literally going to take that Patreon Excel, put all the people's name on that one.
That's it.
Spin it, email you, make it public that this is the person that won. There you go. We email you, contact you. Where do you want your voucher from? There you go. Or if you want cash.
And if you so happen to be on the stream when it happens, then even better. We get to congratulate you in person. But, that's the thing that Albert and I want. We don't want to be like, oh, no, because you are not on the stream that night because you have life.
Yeah.
you don't get the giveaway. No. If you're supporting us, you then qualify. And if you're supporting us on whether it be tier 2 or tier 3, you qualify. Whether you're on the stream or not, whether you've been active for the last 3 weeks daily, or we haven't heard from you in 3 months, you qualify for whatever arrangement that we can make for our giveaways and things like that. So, streamlining things, making it simplified, but with the one core principle that what we do and everything we do is about community first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dog.
I figured as much. I was about to say. Gunther wants to be part of the conversation.
Yeah. So I just want to make this one thing also just that everybody kind of has this idea it's how things are going to run or not run kind of per se. Just say I want to. Okay, let me just gather my thoughts. Dog's out. I want to say is the scalability of this idea is a lot better. And what I mean with that is, obviously, we're still very small. Everybody can go onto Patreon and see how many Patreon members we have currently. So you can then, in turn, make that kind of take what taxes are going to be, what the 25% or 20% cut's going to be. Now, this is where the numbers comes up. If we're 40 members, we know around, okay, 500 Rand is easy going to be possible to do maybe for a monthly giveaway. But now switch it over and say we've got 100 members. Now obviously that 25 or 20% can scale more because obviously it's not going to turn into a pyramid scheme where that 25% is just going to be, say, hopefully one day 3,000 Rand per month, but Richard's pocketing like 25 grand. Then it gets the lines get very blurry, and that's not very transparent. So we want to keep this as open, and this is not our funds. This is the funds for the community.
Yeah. So I think that's like a very, very important factor that we need to bring into play here before anyone gets doubtful and starts to have second thoughts about what it is that we're suggesting here. Like Albert has clearly said, to start with, there is already an existing Wildstorm Studios Discord team, and that is namely Albert and myself, of course, as the co-hosts of the Discord, but we've also got Hanru, who's always been supportive of what we do as an additional member in support, and the same thing for Julio. So initially what I've decided to do is actually form a interim board of this community fund, which is made up of the Wildstorm Studios Discord community team. Okay, so there's 4 members. I cannot make a decision on how that money is spent without the approval of the other 3 members. Okay, so that's the first thing. So there's no, I'm getting this money and I'm going, yeah, no, I bought 10 pallets, but no pallets to show for them. There's going to be accountability, and I've got to get clearance from the other members in order to spend the money for whatever we need to spend it for. A. B, that we will every month, like I say, the month end stream is going to evolve a little bit. And one of the points of discussion at every month end stream will to be very clearly and very transparently show you guys how much money was raised, how much money was banked into the community fund, and if and whether there were any expenses from that fund and why we spent it. So that you as a community, if we said, hey guys, we bought 2 paint cups, can go, why the fuck did we need paint cups and how much do those paint cups cost? And call us out on it. So we want to make this very transparent. Now, as Albert has also alluded to, as this scales up and as it becomes bigger, as we hope from our lips to God's ears, that as we scale up, the percentage of how much is being contributed will change. That will grow exponentially as well. So that more money gets funded into the community at large. But even more so, that if it starts to get to like what Albert was saying earlier, if we God forbid, get to that 2,000-3,000 rand a month that is being saved extra for the community, well, then we need to change things even more so and actually have a board that is nominated by the members of the community. So we'd love to have a member from Joburg, and a member from Durban, and a member from the Western Cape, and a member from the Free State become members of the board with regards to this community fund. So be rest assured, this isn't some willy-nilly idea. We are taking this very seriously. And one of the most important things that both Albert and myself raised was that we keep this transparent. And this again alludes to what I said in the beginning about the integrity of us sticking to the word that we put down and say, if we're going to do something, we will stick to it and actually, follow through on it. So be rest assured that we're not taking this lightly, and that this idea is not just 2 guys going, how do we make more money? This is about the one thing that we've been about since day one, and that's community. How can we use these funds to make Wildstorm more self-sufficient? How can we use these funds to make Thunderbush even better? How do we use these funds to reach out to more communities, reach out to more people, and in turn, give thanks and support back to our community? And that's what it is all about since day one. So that's the plan. All right, Albert, I think that's 9 o'clock. Okay, yeah, one more, go for it.
One more thing.
No,
So yeah,
go
just
for it.
on the idea of when we say scale things up, obviously, hopefully when we have 100 members, obviously it's not going to be one voucher giveaway for that month. Everything will scale accordingly where we can. I just want to touch on, for instance, now when we talked about events and having funds to say, for instance, buy wet pallets and stuff for workshops. Now, this is unfortunately the most fun I had in a day with painting at a workshop, but also the most sad I was. So for those that was at the workshop at Comic-Con, the painting, everything was sorted and all of that, but we had no wet pallets. So for those that don't know, everybody had to paint off from business cards. Now, trying to be the face of the South African painting community as a large, and you know what you need as just a starting out hobbyist, and you see people painting on business cards, from business cards to models, it kind of gives you a good punch in the gut, and that's not what you want to see. So if we had the funds, we would have hopefully already have 10 wet pallets, and then we can have that and have proper lighting and all of that stuff. So like Richard says, if we can slowly build up everything where we can at least guarantee. And I'm sure that if we come to the day where we have 2 lamps and 2 wet pallets and 2 sets of brushes and paints that's been funded from the community for workshop, we'll be happy. So it's better than nothing. So
that's the thing. We want to be able to put the best foot forward when we present ourselves publicly. And like Albert said, it was frustrating as all hell because there we were trying to say, hey, this is an awesome hobby. Come and sit and join us and paint these little miniatures. What's that? Where do you need to put your paint? That business card, if you could just turn that over and just put some paint in there. Yeah, normally we use a wet palette, which keeps your
Mm,
paint moist, but business
yeah.
cards work really well. It's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't sit well with us guys. And that's the thing. We have always been very prideful of the fact that what we do is with passion and we love what we do. And it's
Mm,
funny how you can listen to all these other painting communities across the country and across the globe. A lot of these painting communities are amazing, lovely, wonderful people who really are just passionate about the therapy that this hobby provides and the time and the escape from the bullshit that we deal with every damn day. So, with that, we want to make sure that when you feel like you're supporting us to have this safe space, that you're also supporting yourself. And that for us is the one thing that really was important to me in making these decisions and changes for the Discord is that it's not ever been a one man army, that it's all about community. And it boils back down to a quote that I picked up right in the beginning when Albert first presented the Discord to me. And that quote has stuck with me. And that is that the strength of a community is found in the activeness of its members. The more active you are, the more engaging you are, the stronger our community grows. So we really want to make sure that you guys feel like, hey, I'm not just paying these guys to give me a platform and talk cuck and on a stream, but I know that a portion of what I'm giving them is going to the community at large. That a portion I'm giving them is going to help me have one day a workshop nearby, or attend a convention, or better yet, have more painting competitions or more events where we get to meet each other and bond and grow, and even potentially get to a point where we can pay for our own top artists
mm,
to come in from overseas and do a Wildstorm funded event and not be so heavily reliant on the support and the help of others. So, yeah, I really hope you guys like what it is that we're saying and like what it is that we're trying to do. And with that, I think, Albert, are we ready to open it up for everyone, or do you want to still cover that one
one
point?
one point.
One
One
point.
point
Go
left.
for it. 1 point. Go for it.
So the one thing I did tell Richard today with one of our last phone discussions was, out of all the struggles we have as South African painters and hobbyists, the one thing we've got going for us is we are a small community and we're not international, we're local. And this is the only way something like this could possibly work. You can feel free when we do the
Mm.
Q&A and tell us this is a cuck idea.
Yeah.
Feel free to do that because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we want to hear your opinions and all of that. But
Yeah.
as it stands now, if we try to introduce something like this with 500 members already, there's a no way this would have
Yeah.
worked. So fortunately and unfortunately, we are still very small, and I feel this
Mhm.
is the only time we can make or try to make this work. But it's much more streamlined, it's much more transparent, and
Yeah.
I just feel it's the best way to help everything grow and support everybody without being
Mhm.
reliable from anybody outside of what we are trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
And
think
one of the added
that's the
That's it. Yeah,
idea.
and one of the added things as well is the fact that we don't want to just have only one particular brand or sponsor that we currently work with. We want to work with all of them,
Mm,
and there's already some discussions happening. So, like I say, we can't confirm and finalize anything officially, but guys, what you've heard tonight, I'd say 95% of it is all locked in place. But more importantly, I'd love to hear from you guys and your thoughts. So I think with that, we're going to open up the floor. If you have
go
a question,
crazy.
just shout out your
Go
name. Yeah, if
crazy.
you have a question, just shout out your name. We'll call you out, and then please share your opinions. Tell us if you think we're talking cack and we
Mm,
haven't got a clue of what we're saying, or tell us if you agree with what we're trying to do and what we're putting in place. Or if you have any suggestions or ideas, this is your chance because, like I say, over the weekend we are having discussions and meetings with certain individuals to lock things in place, and we'd like to make the announcement within the next week so that it gives you all enough time over the course of July to then make your decisions, and see if you want to then adjust your tier support, or if you want to stay on the level you are. And that's also another thing, Albert. We want to make sure that when we do the changeover on Patreon, tier 2 members will pretty much not have to worry about doing any changes.
Mm.
So we want to try and make that streamlined as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
the floor is yours. We'd love to hear from you guys. So please feel free to shout out. And then everyone goes quiet.
Where's the soundboard? Play the crickets. Play the crickets.
Yeah, don't forget to take yourselves off mute. You guys have been on mute all this time. There come the crickets. Love it. Look, if nobody says anything, it means that we've done a good job, A, or B, you're all frightened and have no idea what the hell to say to us.
Running for the hills.
Yeah, we're not sure. So yeah, please, someone say something.
Okay, I'll break the ice.
Yeah. How's it, Joe?
How are you, sir?
I think the idea is very good to have what they refer to in business as a sovereign wealth fund. So you take a portion of your profits and you keep it aside for future projects. So I think that's a very good idea. And
Awesome.
yeah, and like you said, it's quite scalable. So the more people that invest into that, the more you can do, and then eventually you can be self-sufficient. That you don't actually reliant on third parties in order to have workshops and prizes and so on and so forth. So I'm on board for that.
Awesome, Jacques. That's really cool to hear from you, bud. And that's exactly the philosophy. That's where I got the idea, was the whole sovereign welfare fund. So yeah, exactly what it is that we're trying to do. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head, is to put money aside so we can invest into the community at large. But yeah, really cool to hear that you support that, Jacques. By the way, Jacques, the chap that reached out to me yesterday is not from PE, he's from Durban. So a little bit further away from you. But still, it's still awesome to hear about these guys. Like I said, the chap that reached out to me is based out in Durban. Apparently, he does live stream on a Friday night with his local community guys. And, we've now connected. He knows about Wildstorm. And this is where we want to get excited with that tier 1, where we can say to folks, you do know we're public. You do know anyone can come on, and it's free of charge. And if you believe what we're doing, you can then make that decision to support us further. But yeah, it's been amazing how the charity project has gotten us to actually connect with a lot more people out there. And we're realizing, hold on, maybe we need to make ourselves more open, more public, and get people to actually realize who we are, where we are, and that we don't expect you to pay just to come support us. That we'd like you to be part of it.
There's one thing I forgot to add. The only reason I say when the tier 1 or open membership can't have access to the streams, the giveaways is pretty self-explanatory, is when you're paying for the streams, the last thing we want, because unfortunately Discord is limited to the 25 people. There is another type of platform we can run on the Discord, but then it's more of a stage theme, the way there's one person and then you have to kind of poke something to raise your hand and then ask a question, and then you go quiet again. So the last thing we want is people not having the ability to join the streams. 25 is still far away from what we're at now. At one point we were very close to that. So just to make that there's no feel bad moments where you're actually paying for something, but a guy who's not paying for anything but being a part of the community is taking your spot, I want to kind of say.
Yeah. We want to make sure that if you're on the tier 2 and you're supporting the community at large, that you get first preference to being able to actually get onto the streams. So by making sure that the tier 1s who've got free public access aren't allowed on the streams, because we want to make sure we secure as many seats for those who actually do support us financially. So that's the point about that one. But yeah, Jacques, thanks for your input, man. It's really cool to hear from you guys that, if you believe in what it is that we're doing, it just gives us a little bit more encouragement that we're on the right path. So really appreciate that, Jacques.
Now that you guys mentioned the tier 1s, that's actually a very good idea. I'm actually happy about it, because you could see guys coming into the Discord. They're part of the Discord. They're taking part. They're posting photos, and then they're just gone. So it's just losing a lot of people in the community and just taking away a platform for them.
That's it. And Lawrence, the other thing as well is the fact that like Albert said, hobby painting and being a hobbyist, unless you've turned it into a full-time career like this idiot, um, is seasonal. Sometimes, there's a, Cyberpunk 2044 comes out and you guys get lost on PlayStation 5 for the next 5 months and we don't hear from you. And then you
Diablo.
get bored and go, yeah,
Diablo
and then
came
you guys
out.
get bored and go, I feel like taking a Space Marine, and then you're back. So that's the nice thing about the public thing, is if you are a part-time kind of hobbyist and you only paint once in a blue moon, then the public platform is going to be brilliant for you, because then you can come and go as you please and you're still part of it and you still know what's going on. And even if you're not painting, you've got an hour to kill, jump on, see what everyone else is doing and see what everyone else is painting. But yeah, that's the idea, Lawrence, is to get more people just to at least take part. The stuff that we then do purposely for the community is stuff that we're aiming for our tier 2s and tier 3s to be, actively involved in, with streams and that sort of stuff. But yeah, we want to get more people seeing what it is that we're doing. We worked damn hard over the last 2.5 years to get here, for tooth and nail, up against it, because we are a tiny little local platform, so we hardly scratch the surface on any of those algorithms with traction. But if we're making it so that anybody and everybody can come in and at least see what it is that we're doing, that's the appeal. That's what we're hoping for. So yeah, appreciate that, Lawrence. And like I say, reach out now to all your mates who may not be painters first, but love seeing painted miniatures. Those are the kind of folks that we'd love to see on the public side and being part of the community at large. And it makes it also easier for us moving forward with the charity project. It's one thing I did notice. I only got a lot of traction on the charity project once we announced it publicly out to the community. And then I had stores phoning and gaming clubs phoning. Whereas we'd been talking about the charity on the Discord for about 2 weeks. And I noticed that the traction hadn't really taken off until we actually started sharing it publicly. But had we shared it publicly from day one on the Discord, we would have had a lot of people already picking up the traction straight away. So yeah, it ticks all the boxes, Lawrence, and glad that you agree with it. Cool. Any other questions? Anyone else out there that has an input or wants to tell us we don't know what we're saying?
I just want to jump in quickly here, Richard.
My good man, but I'm actually so glad to see you there, but it's been a little while. How are you keeping?
Yes, he's so lucky, man. Yeah, I know it's been a wild couple of months. Yeah, we need to catch up.
You're proof of exactly what I was referring to. There are some guys who, unfortunately, work takes over and we lose you for a couple of months, but you always come back. And Tian, we love seeing you, bud.
Tian, it's school holiday. It's time to paint him.
He's on leave. He's on leave. But yeah, Tian, go for it, bud.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for keeping the community going and for being as open as you are. I just get a sense, I don't know, you guys almost seem like a little bit hesitant and scared. Like, we trust you guys, and thank you for what you're doing. It's really good to come back. I mean, I've been out of it now for about 2 months, and stuff's still good, man. No, it's a community and people are here to have fun. I almost want to say don't overcomplicate it, because there's now board meetings and all kind of things. You see, like a lot of transparency.
We want to keep it simple.
I'm not going to sit on the Tuesday miniature financial meetings. I'm going to skip that one, hey? But yeah, I mean, don't get too stressed. This is a hobby. People do it to relax, and you facilitate that. So yeah, thank you very much. Don't stress about stuff like that too much, I don't think.
Thanks, Tian. Yeah, no, look, I think it's just it's an innate thing when you are providing a service and you're providing what it is that we're providing. You're always constantly asking yourself, are people happy? Are people enjoying it? What are people not happy about? What are people not enjoying? And it's always that frustration that whatever decisions you make, are hopefully with the best intentions and always with the best possible outcomes. So to hear you say, at least, we're doing something right and that we shouldn't be so nervous, does instill a little bit more confidence. But yeah, we're still nervous. Purely because, like I say, we want to just provide the best platform. We really want people to just come out of this and go, it's a great bunch of guys, great community, love being part of it. And what they're doing for the community at large is why I support them. That's what I'd love to hear from folks.
I just coming from an angle that don't make it too administratively heavy for yourself. Don't put too much of a burden. You're trying to free yourselves up, and now you're using that time that you free yourselves up to sit in board meetings and stuff. Like I
Yeah,
get it, and I applaud that you want to be
yeah.
transparent, and I
Yeah,
think that's really great.
yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think I'm
just
using
don't
the
take it
term.
too
Yeah, yeah.
too harshly.
I'm using the term board meeting very, very broadly.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 2-minute chat where I go, Albert, I've just extracted funds from Patreon. This is how much is the percentage. He goes, great. And at the end of the month, when we do the stream, we go, by the way, guys, this is how much was raised. We're going to spend some. We're not going to spend some, and that's it. That's as simple as we want to keep it.
Hmm.
The reason why a lot of the things we're doing is we're getting rid of the server level activities. We're getting rid of the tier levels being also differently structured with regards to who qualifies for a giveaway and who doesn't, who gets this, who doesn't, who needs to be on a stream and not on a stream. Fuck all of that. Squash it, make it simple. You're on, you're supporting us, you get a discount, but more so, you get the community, and we will do our very best to make sure that you get that community. Full stop. Nice and short and sweet. But yeah, Tian, we hear you, bud. That's been the reason why we're doing a lot of these things, is to keep it simple and just, focus on what's really important, which is community at large.
Like,
Cool.
keep up the good work.
Yeah.
And Tian,
on
nice
that,
to hear from you, bud.
on that, I also appreciate the giveaways being given to the guys supporting, because the last stream we had a giveaway. I had to sit next to my
Yeah.
kid sleeping with my phone and my earphones just to be part of the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing is for me, it's important if you're supporting, that's thanks enough from me. If
Yeah.
you are supporting and you're unable to see us, I don't want to go, well, fuck it, bro, you weren't there, so you don't get a prize. Screw that. You're supporting, you qualify, you in. You're giving us your belief in what we're doing, and that is merit enough for you to then qualify for anything that we want to give in return. So once again, it's that simplification. Just lock it down to a simple thing. If you're supporting us, we want to pay you back in kind and say thank you. So yeah, definitely the route to take.
Yeah, so I'm
Cool.
disagreeing with Tian, so the simplifying stuff a bit is great.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Anyone have disagreements? Anyone, have any suggestions?
I want to bully Henry, but I'm not gonna bully him.
I'm watching his mic and I'm going,
Yeah,
come on,
there you go.
Unreach, come on. You want to say something, Andrew?
I just want to say, your stream is butter smooth tonight, and man,
Yes!
I'm appreciating that a lot.
Getting it. Thank you, bud.
Yeah.
You just made my night, bro. You just made my night.
It looks
even changed over cameras to make it work right. So thank you, bud. Really appreciate that.
it looks really nice, man.
Awesome. Lekker.
Yeah, I don't have any strong inputs, and instead of I see the train is moving forward, and I'll keep piling in coal, because I have a passion for this hobby, and I have a passion for the people here and the way people treat each other here, and if that can be sustained, either way, however it goes forward, it's growth. So yeah, I don't have criticisms at this point. I'm happy.
Awesome. And Andrew, we're happy to have you be part of this community, bud.
Okay,
You're another individual I've seen who's grown through this hobby, and you came in going, I found you folks, and it's such a cool bunch of guys, and I'm just learning how to paint. And now I'm talking to you a week ago about putting up a corporate commission for your full-time studio. What the fuck, bro? So that's the cool thing for me is that I've been able to watch some of you guys now journey through this hobby. So I want to continue that. And I want to be able to, have a whole bunch of us have had that experience. And who knows, maybe one day, a whole bunch of us actually get to go overseas and plant the South African flag there proudly. But
we got a Monty.
How good's your eyes gonna be, Richard?
Yeah, man.
How's your eyes gonna be?
Look, I will be there in my wheelchair with my oxygen tank. Do not, take that away from me. I'll be there, bro, in my fucking wheelchair on the oxygen mask, and I'll be at Monty. But yeah, let's put aside delusions of grandeur. But at the end of the day, guys, I think we've shared with you a lot of the concerns we've had, but more so now the hopes and the dreams that we do have moving forward. And I hope this now instills what we were trying to say earlier. Don't panic. There's nothing wrong with the Discord. This just for us is what we feel is the right way forward. And we love the marketable aspect of this, that we're public, we're letting more people get involved, that we are also finding a way for the community itself to fund itself so that we can then reinvest into that community. We're not making any empty promises. We're not making any delusions of grandeur saying that we're going to do painted miniatures and do all this kind of stuff. What we'd rather just do is do the stuff in the background and then present and say, this is what we're doing, and be committed and fulfill it, and in kind return anything we can back to the community. So that's the goal, that's the hope. Okay. All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up. Yeah, we hit the time on the nail there, huh, Albert? Not too bad.
Andre, do you want to
We're
ask
getting
something?
better at this.
Come on,
maybe.
give us.
Yeah.
Come on,
Give
Andre.
the
You want to
resident-
be part of it. Come on.
President Grognard have his rumble.
always appreciated, but we'll always give you the soapbox.
Well, firstly, yeah, really appreciate what you guys have gone, and I think this is definitely a pull in the right direction. Yeah, I think the Discord was going a bit off the rails for the last kind of 6 months, but I'm glad it's been pulled back. Very much, I think the going mostly free is a major step, because there's so many people like, oh, there's this great Wildstorm community, I've learned so much, like, oh okay, great, add me. Yeah, there's a small nominal fee. No, never mind.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. We don't want to make that the one thing where people are like, oh, I heard about those guys, but they make you pay. Like, what bastards? We don't want to be that initial impression. We'd rather say, come in for free, and then when you go, hey, this is actually pretty cool, now I'll pay for it. Okay, cool.
The first taste is free.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's important. I think Albert was the one who really picked it up. Is that he did a bit of the whole looking at the analytics and quantifying the numbers, and for him, he was going, we have this much of an audience on the Discord, so when we make an announcement, we're reaching this many people. When we had the WhatsApp, we had 3 times the amount of people, and we could get a lot more people involved with what we were trying to do. So why limit that and not bring that back in? So that's the idea, is to bring those 120 people that we had previously back in and make it public, make it open, and take it from there.
Just say the only thing that gives me a bit of trepidation is you guys focusing a lot on actual physical meetups and things like that. Gives me a bit of FOMO being up here in Joburg with you guys all in Cape Town. But I think it's just us Gauteng guys need to get our shit together and actually start doing some things up here by ourselves.
Well, Andre, I'll say this much to you on 2 fronts with that. But the first front is that when Albert and I say we want to raise funds so we can then do more in-person events, we're not just talking about the Western Cape, but we want to be able to travel. Look, I'd love to be able to turn around to friends and family of mine, and they're like, Rich, what you up to this weekend? I'm like, well, I'm going up to Joburg to host a workshop that we're sponsoring and actually putting on. That'd be fucking awesome to say. So that's the one thing. It's not limited to just doing stuff in the Western Cape. We want to be in a position where we can actually travel and go and see you guys wherever you may be. But the second thing is that currently with the whole charity stuff, there is collaboration happening with groups up in Joburg. So the networking has started, the collaborating has started. So hopefully those in-person events that you're yearning for, Andre, are not far around the corner. In fact, I'll share some information in a second when we wrap things up about what's happening in the short term. But yeah,
I want to touch
Andre,
on something.
community at large, South Africa, not just Western Cape. Promise.
I want to touch on something that Andre mentioned now, is to kind of let this idea linger for the people that's not local. And I think it's pretty obvious and good at this point that it's not just the people in the greater Somerset West area and Cape Town area, that we have people all over the place, that we can play around with the idea of, say for instance now, not necessarily having me or Richard up wherever, but having the ability to say, well, okay, I want to host something up there, I'll take the responsibility for that, but I don't have the 10 wet pallets. You can take that package and ship at least the wet pallets or something up for you. Obviously, we can't
Mhm.
ship lights and all of that stuff. That's going to break. But at least we have then that option that if you enjoy doing workshops, it's not being about the best paint, it's just getting people involved in your
Mhm.
local community and making that grow as well. That
Yeah.
is then an option as well. And then
Yeah.
it's not a case of, yeah, we can send you the stuff, but you know, we don't have the money for shipping and it's going to cost almost 300 Rand at the end of the day. You know, we have then that
Mm.
community fund to do that whole exercise. And then
Mm.
if obviously, for instance, now me and Richard has been talking about this, this is also just a running idea, is that, for instance, if we do workshops, obviously, if there is people on this Discord that would like to do more in-person stuff, like Kushka said the other day. Yes, I did not butcher your name. Yes. Like she asked about doing workshops on that side. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, if it's me promoting my workshop on this platform, I have a strong feeling against that, where I go to a place, do a workshop, and pocket all of that money, even though 90% of those people are from this community. I'm
Mhm.
advertising on this community. It's from the people from the community we're trying to grow. Percentage of that workshop's money is going to go back into that fund. The same can be done with doing workshops on the Discord. At least it gives
Mhm.
that incentive where I can say, all right, this is where people are going to have to swallow a bit of a pill. But if you're tier
Mhm.
2, you can't expect me or Richard to do a 4-hour live stream and rather not take anything from that fund, because not everybody is interested. It's going to be treated as a in-person workshop where it's going to be,
Mhm.
for instance, whatever, 300 Rand per person for a 2-hour or 3-hour workshop, depending on what we're doing, that we can organize stuff with fund sale. And that's how that goes. Instead of you paying me a bit, you paying fund sale a bit,
Mhm.
make everything in one package when you order the model by fund sale. You obviously get the model, you get the paints you need if you want the paints, but that price is then included for my fee and the fee that
Mhm.
is going back into this community. It just
Mhm.
makes everything, grease the grinds a lot easier, grease the gears a lot easier.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
everything is just as well, it's not me making my profit for myself, it's in turn growing the community and moving things forward together instead of me moving myself forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, to elaborate even further with what Albert's just said, we want to be able to be in a position where if we get to a point where we can actually charge sponsors for, sponsoring a stream, for example, the funds that we charge them to sponsor that stream, a portion of those funds will go into the community funds. Any money that is raised, driven by community, born from community, or is under the Wildstorm banner for community, a portion of any funds raised, whether it's for that artist or the person hosting the event, a portion of the funds will go to the community fund. So it's all about that whole reinvesting, finding ways to take those funds and make the thing grow the community at large. So yeah, lots of ideas, lots of plans. But for now, let's keep it nice and simple. Let's finalize the details for you guys over the next coming days. I've got a meeting on Sunday that will lock in some of the information for us. Pray to God. And then we can announce it, lock the numbers down for you guys so you know exactly where we stand. We want to roll that out, and then we want to start committing to that rollout. And we don't want to waste our time with it. We want to get straight onto it. So, yeah, excited about that. Do you want to, Albert? Is there anything else about this topic that you want to cover before I announce what's happening in the next couple of weeks and months? Updates with the charity, that sort of stuff.
Let me quickly think, just that we cover all of the questions, because this is going up on the YouTubes for everybody else in the community to have a look at.
Absolutely.
No, I think that is about it. So it's just, yeah, like you say, the general idea, we don't have to repeat. It's pretty clear what our ideas are at this moment. It is just finalizing current agreements and keeping all the parties happy. But as soon as those agreements has been shifted or amended, there's a huge weight of our shoulders off, because at the end of the day, it's going to be where we started. It's going to be me and Richard, and it's going to be much more open. We can talk about things how we want it to be, and we can be as transparent as we want to be. So at the end of the day, it's going to be better. So we'll see on Monday how much Richard smiles, or
That's the plan.
he looks worried.
No, that's the plan. That's the plan. All right, but to wrap things up, just to give you guys some updates with what's been happening, there's two big things happening. Of course, you guys are very well aware of the charity project. It's starting to really pick up its pace now and moving into July, because I think July is where we're going to be the most active with the charity. There's already 2 workshops that have been locked in place, and that's the 15th of July and the 22nd of July. 15th is at the Warren in Somerset West, and then the 22nd is at Imperium Games in Somerset West. We are going to finalize Pandemonium Games on Sunday. We are in discussion with a bunch of guys out in Durban who are going to then help us host a little painting jam and a workshop, and they're going to be supported by Supernova Studio with some paints. And in turn, Supernova Studios are also jumping on board and supporting us with paints for the Comic-Con event. Now, what's happened is that Comic-Con have approached the guys from Molecast. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of the local guys, Molecast. So Comic-Con approached Molecast up in Joburg to once again host something at Comic-Con. The guys at Molecast were honest with me and said to me that, look, they were inspired by Thunderbrush. They've heard nothing but people ranting and raving about Thunderbrush. They really want to try and do a painting competition up in Joburg. Now, if you guys recall, there was plans to try do Icon and do a painting competition with Icon, but it was a bit short notice and there were a lot of logistics to iron out. So they've dropped that idea, but they've decided to run ahead and do a painting competition at Comic-Con. There is a full PDF rules brochure, which I've gone through and reviewed with them. I've provided them with a lot of support and input into the logistics of things. They had a lot of great ideas, and then there were some ideas I was like, that's not going to work. So they've finalized everything, and I think they're going to be announcing quite soon. But it's really exciting that there's a painting competition happening up in Joburg. So Andre, you were just saying about the Western Caping, the only guys doing active stuff. There's happenings up on your side of town as well, bud. So painting competition at Comic-Con Africa. I think the one in Joburg is in September.
Ask the local guys from there.
Yeah. So if anyone can let us know, just let us know on here. But otherwise, the guys are going to be doing a painting competition at Comic-Con. There's talk about trying to see if they can get me up there to the Comic-Con so that I can be the judge at the competition. So that's going to be a great opportunity to meet folks. And on top of that, they're also going to have a public painting event. And that is basically to get anyone from the public at Comic-Con to sit down and paint either a Space Marine or an Orc or a Tyranid as part of the charity campaign. And once they finish for that Comic-Con weekend, put all those models in a parcel and send it down to us. So very exciting to hear things are starting to happen up in Joburg. Very exciting that the guys are actually reaching out to us and actually discussing things with us, and that you will see Wildstorm Studios brand features prominently on this painting competition happening up in Joburg. We are officially sponsors or co-sponsors with this event up in Joburg. So exciting to see that there's events happening with our brand on it, and we're not even there, which is, it means things are happening. People are believing in the brand, and people are believing in the community. So it's really cool and exciting to see. So yeah, guys up in the north, ears to the ground, painting competition coming your way. Get painting. And it should be good practice and exercise to, get the muscles ready for Thunderbrush, which will be announced hopefully in October. So busy times ahead. You can't say that we've been sitting on our asses through this last few months and dropping the ball. We're actually doing shit, and things are being, planned in the background. And it's exciting to see that there's painting competitions coming in the pipeline. There's more events being discussed. There's a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, right now, our biggest focus moving into July is the charity project. We are going to be planning some more workshops. I know Mike is trying to see if he can liaise a little painting jam up in Joburg for the charity as well. So, keep your ears on the ground, keep an eye on the charity channel, because that's where we'll make all the announcements and lock in any dates for events. And then for those of you who've been part of this stream tonight, please, to those friends who are maybe not painters or not on the Discord for whatever reason, I hope that you're now excited and want to share with those folks that there's going to be an opportunity for them to come in and see what it is that you've been part of and that
Richard,
what
can I
you're
ask
painting.
can I
Yeah,
ask a
please do.
question on that point? Will
Yeah,
you guys maybe
yeah.
like put up a nice share link for us to share to groups like that? Because I've got a bunch of mates that would love to be part of a community,
Absolutely.
just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that we can easily kind of like get people involved.
Mm.
Absolutely. I think one of the important things for me to really do is when Albert and I lock it in, we know the percentage, we know the numbers, we've got confirmation from our sponsors of the things that we want to do. When we make that announcement, you can be rest assured I'll be making the change on the Patreon page at the exact same time. So you can literally then share that information and say, folks, Patreon/Wildstorm Studios, go there, sign up for tier 1. It's free. Jump on board. But yeah, we'll definitely be sharing the news once we lock it in. And like I say, hopefully in the next week.
I would like to
Okay.
just add for the people currently in here. So as we've agreed, the tier twos are store is $3 and then tier 3 is $10.
I think so,
Now,
yeah.
just to put kind of things into a little bit of a perspective. Now, this does not influence me any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, this does put Richard in a bit of a bind that we're not touching any of the numbers, we're not doing anything because we know times are tough and all the rest of it. It's out of our control, so we don't want to put pressure on other people for that. So everything is staying as is, and we are taking a gamble on Richard's side of making a large portion what people like to see for free. So the only
Yeah.
few pieces of brown or black hair Richard still has in his stash can go grey very fast in a couple of months. So,
For sure.
but yeah, it is
Yeah.
kind of the idea that we are not putting all of our eggs in one basket, but we're taking complete control back into our own hands. Or the hope
Yeah.
is that we're going to take complete control back and actually do something hopefully bigger and better. Better for sure. Bigger. That's to see. So yeah,
That's the hope. That's it.
yeah.
All right, guys. So yeah, that's what's happening in the next couple of months. You've got the charity, you've got Comic Con happening up in Joburg with a painting competition, and even just a painting charity event at Comic Con. There's Joburg guys busy planning up a painting jam. There's Durban guys organizing a painting jam. There's guys in PE. I know Jacques bitterly trying to find more people to join his little plan to get involved. So keep an ear out. Please keep spreading the word. Share the news of what it is that we're about to announce and that we are going to be opening a public access point for those not on this Discord already. And then, yeah, please, over the course of the weekend, if you get an idea or if there's something that you want to share about these decisions and maybe you don't feel comfortable doing it verbally in front of all of us and that you'd rather feel comfortable typing a message, you are more than welcome to please put in a comment on either the stream chat tonight or otherwise put a comment on the feedback channel, because essentially you're giving us feedback, which is always good. And then at the same time, like I say, start sharing with people that it might benefit and enjoy from just at least being part of what it is that we're trying to do here. But to wrap things up with the last thought, and that Albert still has one more. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So just to keep everybody kind of in the loop of making it less confusing as it is a little bit now, it's people still get a little bit worried is as currently with the charity painting stuff currently stands is the phases is as the moment as it stands now is we're going to see and try to get as much miniatures as we can possibly painted at workshops and events. That's just the easiest way and the least amount of logistics we have to then handle. I say we, it's Richard's problem. But in that
Yeah.
sense, we can hopefully get as much as possible painted on one single day, get stuff painted over weekend and get it back in our hands. And once all of those events kind of wrapped up and we can start seeing, okay, well, we kind of organized this much for that weekend and we've got say 2 miniatures back and we have then our leftover pool, the easiest thing then to do is, all right, who still wants to paint stuff and who can guarantee for deadline? Unless we can maybe have a discussion on obviously if people like Benji is closer to Lauren's side, but they're already organizing something. So try your best, but in Jock's case, where he's all alone over there, that we can get some stuff out to him. At least make it fun, maybe, and do something like an orc
Yeah.
vehicle that it's something more in his flavor.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, in Jacques' case, it's not so much of a case of whether he's got fellow hobbyists. From what I know from Jacques, he's got fellow hobbyists. It's just that they all play military stuff instead of the Space Marines and the Tyranids. So he's like, I'm keen. I just don't have anything to paint.
Yeah.
And I've got mates who are keen, but they don't have anything to paint. And that's what I'm getting a lot of. I'm getting a lot of these little, like I say, they had these little silo groups. Like there was a guy that reached out to me. I think he's in the Northern Cape, and he's like, hey, I've got 4 or 5 guys. We love what you're doing. We want to do this. We just don't play 40K. So we don't have anything. And I'm like, right, we will do our best to send some miniatures. We're going to try and get our hands on some miniatures for you. So just a reminder, as Albert, I think, was alluding to, don't just wait for painting jams. If you've got the time and you paint up your 5, get them painted, get them over to us. The sooner the better. At the end of the day, someone said, well, what if you get too many miniatures? I would much rather have too many miniatures to put on this diorama than not have enough at all. So send them. Send what you've got. Send, even if you know mates of yours who've got piles of stuff sitting in the cupboard, please reach out to them and say to them, listen, get rid of some of that stuff. There are guys throughout the country who want to paint models for this thing. Send it off to Wildstorm Studios, or even reach your local hobby store and see if they want to host a painting jam or a session and get some people painting.
I don't have a photo ready, but let's see if this works. That we've got
There, yeah.
organized by one of the members. So
Yeah. So that's an exciting bit of news. We not only have Guz Kulthraka, which is sitting just on the side there. We've not only got Marnius Kalgar, so we've got the first 2 protagonists of this 3-way battle. We now have confirmation that we've got a Tyranid counterpart.
we'll
So
give
now
complete confirmation when we have it in studio. But
yeah. Once we have it in hand, we'll be sure to confirm it for you guys. But yeah, we are excited because we've now got a Tyranid hero character to now face off at a level with Guzkul and Marnius. So very cool to see that, and lots of cool stuff about. I know there's guys out there who are printing stuff for us in STL files and working on stuff like that. So very cool, very exciting. Please keep it up. Please keep sharing the word. And yeah, guys, don't hesitate to ask any questions pertaining to the charity on the charity channel. And it's important for you guys to ask those questions on the charity channel, because that way anybody coming in and wants to know what's happening on the charity channel, they're going to find all those questions and those answers there. Whereas if you're asking the question outside of that, those people might not be aware of it. So any questions pertaining to the charity, please ask them on the charity channel, so that when we answer, those who are part of that channel can also be aware of what the answer was. Okay, but yeah, I think we have spoken yours off for the night, and I think we've been very clear in our passion for what we want to do moving forward. But I think the last thing that I'd like to just say is, once again, as always, and Albert said it right earlier, I am nothing but truly grateful for your support. It's crazy how tough things have become. The economy is really not helping any of us. So it doesn't fall short on me that there are many of you out there who are contributing your $3 and $10 towards me keeping the lights on, and it does not go unappreciated. So a heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you. And all I can promise is to keep doing what we're doing, but to keep doing it better. And I think that's the core of what we're trying to do. We're not trying to just do this Monday to Friday. We're trying to really make something that we can be truly proud of. So you can be rest assured tonight. I hope that Albert and I have reinstilled your faith in us, that you can see that things were getting a little bit out of control, but it wasn't because of anything, negligent on our behalf. It was purely just the daily struggles and a lot of things that were out of our control. But we are taking things back into our control, and we both confident that we're moving in the right direction. So with that, folks, nothing else left to say, but keep painting up a storm, and I will see you on the Discord. Have a good evening and have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone. Have a
Right.
good night.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone.
Okay. Cheers. Bye bye.